Awakening with Brahma Kumaris.
Welcome to Awakening with Brahma Kumaris. In the past few sessions, we have been discovering who we are, where we are, what is our relationship with the Supreme Father. Well, you are a soul, you are a being of light, you are consciousness, you are a spiritual energy. But are you always in control of this energy? Do you have self-control? Are you self-empowered at all times? What happens to your power in different circumstances and situations? Our topic for today is the power to turn within. And once again, we are delighted to have with us Sister Jayanti, the European Director of the Brahma Kumaris. Welcome, Sister Jayanti.
Hello, Om Shanti.
Sister Jayanti, we live in changing times, surrounded by people with different nature, different opinions, and different understanding. Often, these changing times and circumstances and people we deal with shape our personality. For example, I was never a negative thinker, but I live with people who are negative. Maybe my entire neighborhood is negative. The place where I work, the energy is negative. I cannot but absorb a certain level of negativity within me, which seems natural way of dealing with it. Or, for example, I've never been angry. I've never been that type of person. But I soon realized that without a raised voice, without a little bit of aggression, I don't get my work done. So how do I use a certain technique, certain tools to keep myself calm?
You spoke about empowerment, and I think that that's the answer. What I need to do is to find ways in which to develop spiritual power within. And the way to be able to do this, the foundation of all spiritual development, is to be able to turn inwards, to turn within. What happens normally is that our attention is always directed outwards. Our physical senses are constantly being stimulated, especially in today's world. It's non-stop. And so we're constantly just simply reacting to the things that are coming from outside. We have no time to be able to develop our own inner power and develop our own capacity. And so within the situation of today's world and the negativity that we are surrounded with, I think the most critical aspect of spiritual power is the ability to turn within.
The ability to turn within, to go inside yourself.
That's right.
What kind of image, to make things easy, what kind of image can you give to that power to go inside?
Think of a turtle. And I've seen very big turtles, but I've seen little ones too. But what the turtle does is it'll come outside its shell and it'll go around and do whatever it needs to do, and then it'll go inside the shell again. And the shell is such a protection that there might be a storm, it might be blistering sun, whatever it is, the turtle is protected inside because it's got the covering. And so turning inwards is a little bit the same. Outside there's a lot of chaos going on around me, and I just need a moment to be able to go inwards. So I'm not cutting myself off from anything, but just for a moment I turn inwards and I connect with my own resources within myself. We all have treasures that are hidden away inside the self, and normally we forget about this. But turning inwards means I connect with my inner peace, my inner truth. And just after a moment, when I have to come out again and face the world around me, I'm doing so now from the power of that space that I've connected with inside.
So let's just say, I want to turn inwards. Do I need a space to do that? I could sit in the corner of a room, I could sit by myself, but even though it looks that I am taking time and space to turn inside, I could be planning my party. I could be planning a trip that I'm going to take. But on the outside, I'm quiet. What is happening inside my mind? What should I be saying to myself when I'm turning inside?
It's true that to do anything, you have to be able to go inside and plan and think about something. Even when we speak, we've actually thought about it before we begin to speak. So it's actually an indication that everything starts inside and then it comes through into words and into actions and relationships. But what we're doing when we want to develop our own inner power is not to just let the mind go here and there and plan, etc. But I'm doing it for a very specific purpose. I'm going inwards to be able to access my own inner strength and power within. And so the world outside is out there. It won't go away. It'll be waiting for me. But I'm taking the time, just a moment, to go within. And I'm filling myself again with that awareness of who I am. My consciousness is filled with that peace. My consciousness is now very stable and anchored. And then when I come out, I'm able to deal with everything. So I'm thinking very consciously about who I am and what my original qualities are and what is my real state of being within, so that I'm taking charge of myself and my responses to the situation rather than letting the circumstances dictate what my reactions should be. And so this is part of self-mastery and empowerment.
How long or how much space do I need to go within? Do I take half an hour a day? Do I take several hours in a week? What's the method?
The best way is to begin the day with a preparation. Time for silence for myself, time to be able to study some spiritual matter so that my mind is given nourishment.
Before I turn within. So let's say if I take a paragraph from a Bible or a paragraph from a scripture, a paragraph from, or maybe even look at self-empowerment paragraphs from books, then I sit down, think about it so that my mind has some, like you said, nourishment to think about. Otherwise, it'll race to the next thing that I need to do.
I'm talking about two different situations. One is a situation before I begin the day's activity, before the family is up and the phone starts ringing and the bell starts going. So before everything begins, just to maybe get up half an hour earlier, maybe an hour earlier. And that time is for me. I'm not taking the time out of my duties and responsibilities. My family is asleep. They don't want me at that time. I'm taking that time for myself to be able to recharge my inner battery, to be able to give my mind some nourishment through some scriptures or some material that I find is uplifting, so that I've prepared myself for the day. Then as the day progresses, in situations that come in front of me, I can very easily then turn inwards. And in turning inwards, yes, maybe it's just simply connecting with the self. Maybe it's something that I read this morning. For example, this morning I was reading about making sure that I constantly give happiness and I never give sorrow to anyone. Maybe,
throughout the day?
Maybe here's a person who's a challenging character, and we meet many of them. And I'm just going inside, connecting with that truth that I must be a source of happiness and not of pain.
So even though he is in a point of aggression, even though he is purposely doing things towards me, I consciously choose not to react because I want to commit myself to the idea that I am going to give happiness today.
That's right, because I know that that's what's going to bring me benefit ultimately. Because whatever this person is saying or doing, if I react to that, then the burden that I carry is going to be greater and it's going to be very difficult to deal with it. But if I've decided this morning, I'm going to fill myself with that truth that I, from my side, must not give any sorrow, then I remind myself of that turning inwards. I come back to that point of truth. This is what is important for me. And whatever they say, whatever they do, I make sure that my response is appropriate. I'm not ignoring what they're saying, they'll get more angry. But I'm making sure that from my side, my response is the correct response and not something out of emotional reaction.
I like this idea. I like this idea to make an appointment with yourself first, maybe half an hour early, like you said, before the rest of the family wakes up, or come to work maybe 20 minutes earlier before the rest of the work colleagues come in. Let's just say I begin this practice and I like my own company now. I like the feeling that it gives me from a point of strength and less reaction. What if I like my company a little bit too much? And then I find myself a bit of a loner, aloof. Is there not a danger in there?
Not really, not in the response that I'm describing. If I just wanted to be alone, I would leave people and just go off somewhere. And I'm not talking about that at all. I'm very much at home with the family. I'm very much at work fulfilling my responsibilities. But I'm now more able, more capable of doing the right thing at the right time because I'm connected with the inner truth of the self, which means that I'm able to fill myself with what I need. I'm able to be fulfilled inside, and so I'm able to share. Actually, I'm a happier person, so people gravitate towards me. I'm a more peaceful person, and so those vibrations of peace reaching them also. And so definitely I don't cut myself off from anyone, but now instead of taking from them, I'm able to give them something. And everybody loves to receive something. And so in fact I find myself with more friends, with more colleagues who seek me out and want my company and enjoy it.
I've noticed people like to go for silent walks, some even a day's silent retreat. There seems to be a rejuvenating energy that people who partake these type of steps towards themselves. I know people in my own family, for example, who practice silence every Monday for several hours in a day. Is this a good practice? Does this bring any other benefit? Or how do we go about this power of silence?
It's a brilliant practice, and if somebody can do this, it's wonderful.
We can't do it when we are at work.
Well, I can't do it myself, and I live in a meditation center. And I suppose if I could say that, okay, today I'm not going to meet anyone, it would mean I have double the amount of people to meet the next day. Usually that's what happens. And so it's wonderful if somebody can do that. But it's not so easy to create that sort of space for oneself. And if you can, well, go for it. But the other way to do it is make sure that I enjoy silence in the morning, and I take the opportunity through the day to create spaces of silence, little moments of silence. It's like a piggy bank.
You collect the pennies to make a pound.
Correct. You don't tell a child,
analogy.
put 5 pounds, he doesn't have any. Yeah. But just put in a penny at a time, a penny at a time. And so through the day, just a moment, just a moment, just a moment. And what I've found is that some people are actually scared of silence, because when they go inside,
it's very true.
The first thing that comes up is all your fears and anxieties, things that are happening in your life, and you haven't dealt with them, you haven't processed them, you've pushed them to the back of your consciousness. Create space for silence, and it's those things that come crowding in. There's a woman who's a very powerful woman, and she told me that I don't want silence, because if I have silence, I think of the tragedies that I've been through, and she's been through a couple major things in her life. I don't want to remember those. And yet, we were there together for a couple of hours. By the end of that time together, when she'd understood that when you turn inwards, it's not a question of letting other things come crowding in, But turning within means connecting with your original state of being by using your mind in a very conscious way. Then when we practice this sort of guided meditation that we're doing, she didn't want to come out of the silence.